that's it. It's finished. We have finally completed our Diablo 1 through 4 playthrough. It has been absolutely the best time playing through some of my favorite games, one of my favorite series, getting nostalgic, enjoying the old and the new, and really getting into the nitty-gritty of what makes these games fantastic for all of us out there in the RPG world. This final wrap-up video takes me and my partner in crime, Viking, talking about our feelings on all of the games, giving them a bit of a rating out of 10 across the story, their gameplay overall, and also their replayability, whether you're going to want to keep coming back over and over again. It's going to give you our final thoughts on Diablo 4 especially, and spoiler alert, they're not particularly favourable. We definitely have some issues with this game that we are looking forward to discussing with you, and we'd love to hear your thoughts as well, not just on Diablo 4 but across the whole series. Let us know which is your favourite, what you love, what you don't love, what feels awkward, all of that good stuff. We really want to hear it down in the comment section below. And if you've been enjoying this series, please do drop us a like. It's really, really helpful for our reach in YouTube and everything which we're trying to build over here. Our next streams are going to be coming very, very soon, and if you want to be part of the live action as we move into other games like ESO, other RPGs, scary games, all of that kind of stuff, or if you want to watch us as we revisit Diablo 4 for the season, do follow us down in the little linky things down below. That's where my Twitch is and Viking's Twitch is, so you can see all of the things live as it happens and engage with me and chat with me on stream. Finally, thank you guys so much for all the support you've shown on this series. It really has meant the absolute world. Cannot wait to keep showing you more of the games that I play, more of the fun things that I've been doing with my friends over on Twitch, and other exciting titles that I absolutely adore. If there's anything specific you want to see, let me know. Drop me a DM, comment, all of that good stuff. And on that note, it's time for our thoughts. We've reached the end. Let's hear your thoughts. Let's hear your breakdown. Where are you at the end of Act 6? And the epilogue, technically, at the end of the game.
The entirety of that ending was cheap as fuck, I will admit that. But at the same time, it was satisfying to go through at the same time. So what I mean by it's cheap because this game decided to do the thing that was easiest, which was, oh, you remember all those bosses you went through in the storyline? Here they all are again.
I quite liked the nightmare piece. I quite liked how it took you back through the story again, particularly because they have so many side quests. If you'd gone and done all the side quests at the same time, I could absolutely see why you would not remember what happened at the beginning. We didn't even do all the side quests, but we had a big break in the middle, and I didn't remember all of the plot from the beginning. So I think that was a nice way of doing it. I think this is going to sound really shitty. A lot of the plot in this, a lot of the end game, a lot of that kind of stuff has felt like a cheap cop-out.
Yes.
It has felt like they got lazy and so on, and I thought this after the mega cutscene, which was a very good cutscene and I very much enjoyed it, but they put more effort into the cutscenes than they did the actual plot of the game. That's
true. That is true. But that's always the way Blizzard has handled cutscenes, is that they have more of the cutscene department has more funding than the entirety of the game studios themselves, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, I do, and there was a lot of things I liked about it. I did enjoy the ending. I did like Lilith coming back with a second round through that boss fight. I thought that was good.
That was really cool.
I really enjoyed all of that. I liked the ending. I like how you went through that last act, especially, or not so much the whole last act, but the last piece of the last act up to the death of Lilith. I think you really went through that in a way that made you question your senses about whether you were making the right decision, and I thought that was really cool. I really liked that.
Yeah, like I said, the only thing that is falling back for me is the fact that they decided to do the cheap cop-out of, hey, you remember all those bosses in the story mode?
Yeah.
Here they all are again. Like, that 100% just feels like
It's
the
laziness.
worst way to do that. But the way it ended was satisfying.
It definitely was.
In a way that was narratively satisfying.
I feel like that
admit,
fits.
I'm still upset with the fucking names.
You can't let it go. But that fits, though. That fits with the... It fits with the way that it became so grindy, and was always so grindy. But particularly, like, that last move through Caldeum and into Hell, that was particularly grindy.
Yeah.
You know, you were just going through, hitting elite after elite after elite, and I didn't feel particular challenge to it. I don't know how you felt, but it didn't feel particularly challenging. It was
challenging to remember my rotation.
It was, I mean, there was that, and I guess, like, it's getting you into the mood to then do that run of bosses, but it just, for me, it just felt grindy. It just felt repetitive. You were just leading these people through this, and, like, here's another pack with 2 elites, and here's another pack with an elite, and here's 2 packs, another pack with 2 elites, and, like, it wasn't giving me enough variety, and that, for me, was a shame. I felt like there was more they could do there. But the other thing to take on this is that, you know, you and I at this point, you especially, but me having spent so much time around you, are a bit of Diablo aficionados. We're going to be hypercritical on this game.
Yeah, that's true.
I still very much enjoyed playing. There was points when I did lose interest a bit because of that grind, but after we got the horses, I felt like I was much happier with it, and I would play the season.
Which is good, because we will be playing the season. Because, one, we kind of paid for some stuff in the season already, so we kind of have to. And two, because the season is ending relatively soon.
We've got a month. 17th of October.
Yep, we have exactly 1 month and 7 days, technically 6 days.
I mean, so this is the end, you know, of our playthrough on here, where we actually go the whole way through it. There may be little bits where we come back and we stream again with bits of the season, but we're not going to hold playing the game to just streaming once we're doing the season. We have not been playing this game offline. We've only been playing it on stream, so that
except
won't
for
be
a
happening
little jaunt at the very beginning with me.
You had a couple
where I got in trouble.
Yeah, you got in trouble. we had a couple of, like, you know, you went and did a couple of jobs, but mostly you were sticking to what we had already done. And not with these characters.
To the exact same area, and I was like trying out the other classes just like to get a taste of them. I feel like you and I are both going to enjoy the sorcerer / sorceress. I feel like that's going to be a decent way to play the game, honestly, as well.
Yeah, I normally play sorceress. That's normally my class. I decided to go with druid this time around just because I'd never really played druid. I wanted to try it out. I was quite excited for playing a new and different class. I didn't enjoy it as much because it's more tanky, because it's more melee. Didn't enjoy it as much.
I 1,000,000% want to see you play a druid in Diablo 2. Reason being is because there is a build for Diablo 2's druid that is basically a spellcaster with elemental spells.
Okay.
And you would love that.
I mean, I'm down. You know, I'm always down for more Diablo 2. Diablo 2 is my jam, so I'm always down.
Which is why I thought that this druid is going to be a little bit more like that. It's really not, but it kind of is at the exact same time. Like, it has the storm things, but it's like they are augments to your tankiness. Not like, hey,
because you had to basically do the upfront hitting to rebuild the spirit to do the spells. And once you got the hang of that balance, it was fine, but I definitely didn't enjoy it as much as I've enjoyed playing sorceress. So I'm excited to go that, and that may help me with some of my feelings of grinding as well, because I wasn't playing a class that fits to the play style I normally have. That would be a bit of a factor as well. I think there's a number of things in it. Okay, so let's do a full rating 1 through 4 of out of 10s, and the out of 10s we're going to do out of 10 for story, out of 10 for gameplay, and an overall out of 10 experience. Those
All
3
right.
out of 10s. Okay. So, starting with Diablo 1.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to go first?
I will give Diablo 1, in terms of story, I give it an 8.
I think an 8 or a 9, particularly if you do all of the bits where you talk to all the characters in Tristram.
So the main reason I give it an 8 for the story is because in multiplayer it takes out all of the extra quests that
True.
you were not able to see because they're locked in single player only.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I take that. I take that. Yeah.
Gameplay wise, my style of gameplay, I'll give it a 6.
I think for me, gameplay wise, it's actually lower. It's probably about a 4. Because the gameplay isn't actually, there's not a lot to it, but you have, I mean, bearing in mind the fact that it's a game from the mid-90s, there's obviously not going to be a lot to it, but I think if you take it on par when we're looking at the whole of it, I would go down as low as a 4, because the click and move is clunky and frustrating. You know, the fact that I regularly murdered you by friendly fire, like, bits and pieces like that, for me, just pull it down that bit lower. It's still fun and it's still functional, but for me, the driver of Diablo 1 is the story, not the gameplay.
Oh shit, there's an after credit scene.
Okay, I'm not there yet. I'm still doing 1,001 credits.
I know. It's not long. It's literally the shortest end credit scene ever.
Okay, we have to have a pause in our thing.
Yep. So yeah, overall, though, I would give Diablo 1 a 5. Like, it's...
I think I would give it a 6. And the reason for that is I think I'd pull it up a point because it was my first introduction to playing Diablo with you. I'd never come across the Diablo games before, and your excitement about them was so infectious around it. And that made me more excited about it.
I give it a 5 because, like, yes, my excitement for Diablo 1 was based entirely off of the nostalgia of going through the chat rooms that, well, you've never experienced. And for good reason. Like, the experience that I had with those chat rooms was when they were full of people that actually wanted to chat about the game.
Yeah, and it's not that anymore.
And it's not that anymore because no one is in them.
Which is fair. I mean, it's been, 15 years.
Or more than that. It's been about 24.
No, not quite. Yeah, actually, yeah, sorry. My maths is off. I was thinking we were in, 2013. Sorry, guys.
You were thinking of Diablo 2. That's okay.
No, I wasn't. I was genuinely thinking that 1997 was 20 years ago. It was not. It was not. Shit.
So there's that. Also, the other part of it is, your reactions to the stuff that we were seeing and doing, in certain parts where it was massively grindy, was a little difficult for me to deal with.
Okay.
But that's entirely because of how grindy that game was, and I completely was on board, especially because of, the fact that you kept killing me, and at the end game, I was not useful. That's why I put it at about 5. It was average at best.
Which is fair. Zig says, a little too much wine tonight, thinking it was 2013. No, I'm just terrible at maths, and I clearly think I'm still 22 years old. I am not.
So Diablo 2, you take that one away.
Oh, I say, just one more point to round off Diablo 1.
Okay.
I think the reason I enjoy it so much as well is because you multiply so much fucking gold for us, so we don't have to grind it. I've never had to grind Diablo 1 because you've saved me from that. And I think that's
true.
Makes it easier for me to enjoy. Okay. Right, so Diablo 2. In terms of the story, I love it. I'm going 10 out of 10. I feel like it moves at a brilliant pace. It goes forward. in a way that you feel like you're constantly moving to the next part. You're not, having to, kind of like in Diablo 4 here, stretch yourself halfway across the continent to get to the next piece of the puzzle. For me, I feel like the story works incredibly well. I like the expansion pack on it. I feel like it gives you some extra pieces, and genuinely, Diablo 2 is my favorite out of the series, so that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I agree with you on the story. Like, the story-wise for Diablo 2 is 100% a 10 out of 10. It was well crafted, and it was meticulously looked after, which I'm still having issues with on this one. So the other thing story-wise that I will say for Diablo 2 is that they, like, it was not 100% like 10 out of 10 legendary status for me, because of the fact that there is the catastrophe that is Act 3.
That's true. But if you play Act 3 like we play Act 3, I feel like it negates enough of it.
It did. Gameplay-wise, what are you thinking?
Gameplay, I think for me it's probably around a 7. I feel like the builds they did on the original mechanisms worked really well. They kept true to the original form, but also added enough that you felt like it was a development.
Yeah.
Still find the point and click, I'm going to say this across the board, I find the point and click method of moving around clunky. I just do. I find it easy to get stuck on things, but I feel like there was more to this. The fact that they took out the friendly fire, big win for me. And for you. Yep. Just a big win across the board. Particularly because, with Sorceress, I have a tendency to like the area spells, and they just fucked you up over and over. So that was really, really good for me. And I think that the things they added in and the places they added in, the way that they built up armors and weaponry and stuff like that, it wasn't unachievable, but it still felt like a challenge to get good things. I feel like they did that well. So for me, I'd put it probably at, like a 7.
Okay. I would put it at about a 9.
Okay. You're going high. You're going high with Diablo 2 gameplay.
Diablo 2's gameplay was very well crafted, mainly because no matter what type of items and gear you were picking up, because that's what this game is. The game series is. It's a looter game. So,
and you are a loot goblin.
The items that they put into the game were useful no matter what you picked up. If your character was coming from nothing, you were able to pick up any weapon and be a million times better than what you were just a few seconds ago.
Yeah. Granted,
there was the items you 100% had to have to make yourself viable. For example, my paladin that I went with in Diablo 2 was not exactly created correctly. It was meant to be a party buffer, which I have never played before in Diablo 2, but at the same time it worked well enough. But I wasn't at the skill level to be able to do it by myself in terms of being a character, because it's just not built correctly. Which is fine. That's entirely okay. It doesn't have to be built correctly. That's the point of Diablo 2 being such a good game. Is I'm not built correctly, but I can still go have fun.
Yeah, exactly. You're still able to just enjoy it, and you don't get decimated if you're not built correctly.
Exactly. And that's kind of why I give it that 9, because even though it has the downside of, if you're not built correctly, you're not going to do perfectly. It still makes it fun to go through it without the struggle, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, this is a balance that a lot of games have to find around making it challenging enough, but not so challenging that you just give up. And it's kind of where I'm at with Hollow Knight, which some of you will have seen me play on stream a few weeks ago. I've been playing it offline. I was really enjoying it, and I'm now stuck at a boss that I just can't beat, and it's really pissing me off. And so I haven't touched it in a week, even though I was playing it every day. because it's turned me off from that, and that's the balance you really have to strike between this is too easy and it feels like a grind versus you're just decimating me and I'm not interested.
Yeah.
Okay. Overall score. I'm going to put my overall score up there with a 9.
I completely agree. I think it deserves that 9.
I think there's still room for improvement. You can't ever say there's no room for improvement in these games, but I think what they did was really well done. They pulled everything together, and I just, it's my favorite. It's my favorite of all the Diablo games.
Yeah.
Right, your turn to start off. Diablo 3. Diablo 3.
The
fucking
so Diablo
rogue.
3 is it was an interesting concept.
It's a different game.
it is. It is a different game to what they were going for. However, they kept it going with the right idea when it came to story.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, story-wise, I give Diablo 3 out of 10. I would give it an 8.
I think I would too. I think the story is good. There's a couple of points when you're like, okay, that's a choice.
Yeah, but it ties in too.
But
so
it works. They pull it back around again. You go, actually, yeah, this all works together. I'm on board, and it feels within the Diablo franchise still. Feels like you're very much still. And for me in Diablo 3 with the story, like, because the gameplay, and we'll obviously come to that in a second, because the gameplay has so much divergence from Diablo 2 and Diablo 1, you need that tie-in with the story, and I think they did that well.
Yes, they absolutely did. And especially once they came out with the Reaper of Souls Act 5, it really tied in the entirety of, like, what kind of threat the Nephilim actually were, which made you feel like, okay, as a Nephilim, I'm actually I'm threatening to both sides, not just one.
Yeah. And I really like the way that they handled that. I feel like it was really interesting to see it through. My only gripe will be about it is Deckard Cain fucking die already. Like, when he came back at the beginning again, I was like, seriously, you fucking Deckard Cain? And
so I looked it up.
I get it, but still.
I looked it up. In Diablo 1, Deckard Cain was in his 60s. His early 60s, but his 60s nonetheless.
Okay.
And then Diablo 2 happened immediately after that.
Yeah.
So, like, within 4 years.
So he's, like, late 60s, early 70s, maybe.
Mid to late 60s.
Okay.
And then in Diablo 3, that was 20 years after the events of Act 5 of Diablo 2.
I mean, it's not unreasonable that he was alive. I was just like, seriously.
And he was 100% like acting in that old senile mode.
True. It just was like, you were in a bloody cage.
Yep. He was an exhibit.
Okay, gameplay for D3. Gameplay. I'm just gonna caveat this. Gameplay for D3 now, not gameplay for D3 when it came out and it had the auction market and you made a shit ton of money.
Oh my god, okay. Gameplay now, I'll give it an 8.
Okay. Do you want to caveat that with what you would have given it then?
If we were including everything before Reaper of Souls fixed the game, I am going to give it a 2.
Oh, Jesus, that's a big drop.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So I'm like, you want me to get rid of that time lapse? I will do that.
I mean, I never played it under that gameplay, so I wouldn't have been able to rate it under the same thing.
Yeah, like, legitimately, the hard thing with Diablo 3 when it first came out, up until about when Reaper of Souls hit, was the issue of you just can't find gear for your character class.
That makes sense.
And on top of that, the difficulty level was insane when it went from Hell mode to Inferno mode. Like, you think that it's a little more difficult if you jump from, Torment 1 to Torment 8. Well, I have news for you. That's what it felt like doing Hell mode to Inferno mode. But they added, they took out something which you never saw. You never saw this.
Okay.
they took out resistances and immunities from Diablo 3.
Interesting. That's not entirely true, though.
There are...
Because there's definitely items that give you immunities and things, because I had that one that made me immune to the Lounce thing that fucked me up over.
That's not what I mean.
Archon energy.
Player side, they kept it.
Oh, okay, so they took it out on the enemy side. That makes more sense. So I'm like, I'm sure I was definitely immune to those fucking Twizzly things.
Yeah, the freaking arcane sentries.
Yeah, those.
But yeah, they did take out resistances and immunities for a bunch of things when they got rid of Inferno mode.
Okay.
And that's what made the game so difficult, is because of those immunities and resistances, you expected to build yourself Diablo 2 style, which is, you have to find physical damage.
Yeah.
And that was a thing. But the problem is that it took out about 90% of your damage side, so you couldn't kill them. And they were hitting you because they were ignoring your resistances or immunities with some of the abilities they have.
That makes sense.
So it was just not balanced at all.
Okay.
Like, it was a mess. But either way, we're not counting that.
Yeah.
Gameplay now, it's an 8.
Okay. In gameplay for me now, it's a 6. And the reason for that is my general feel about Diablo 3, which is it's trying to be something it's not.
Yeah.
It's trying to be an MMO.
It's trying to be an MMO with single-player tendencies.
Yeah. And so for me, some of the mechanisms they've put into the gameplay to do that kind of spoil it for me a bit and pulls it down. I think without those mechanisms, it would be an 8 for me. But with them in there, it just drags it down. And part of that is like, we don't really play MMOs. We have a couple of them, we have Lost Ark, we have ESO, we have all those things, but when we play them single player. We don't really go and do the PvP or anything like that. It's not really my jam at all.
Yeah, the player versus player stuff never worked out in Diablo 3.
And so for me, it just but I enjoy the season stuff, because obviously that was new in Diablo 3. I really enjoy that. I think they brought in a lot of great stuff that keeps it up there above average. But yeah, the fact that they're trying to be something they weren't, I just feel like it's a shame, really. They could have stuck with what was fabulous about Diablo 2 and just built upon that, but instead they decided to go in a different direction, and for me that's a shame. But I think that's just personal. That's a personal preference. There's a lot of people who really love Diablo 3. Okay. Overall, Diablo 3.
I would say Diablo 3 is a 3.
Ooh, that's spicy. Give me a reasoning.
That's entirely because of my hatred for what it was, not what it has become. And I can't get rid of that in my overall score. I just can't.
So for me, as someone who has never played it before Reaper of Souls, I would probably pop it at a 7.
Yeah.
I think it's got solid achievements. I think it's got good gameplay. I think it does great with the story. And for me, I feel good about it. I do. I think it's a good piece.
I completely forgot about this, by the way, which we have not been adding into our scores.
Okay.
Replayability.
Okay, let's go to the end and then we'll do replayability across the board. We'll do D4 and then we'll do replayability. Okay, Diablo 4. Story. Okay, I'm going to caveat this by saying we haven't done all the side quests, and we haven't done everything in the story that exists. Main story only.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a 4.
Okay. I'm okay with that.
I'm giving it a 4 because for me it was incredibly slow paced. Not an awful lot happened. There was a big rush at the end where a bunch happened, and that's when I was very much enjoying it, but throughout everything, I would say probably through till mid-act 5, I was like, this is so slow. And then there was bits where the story just didn't make quite sense if you weren't paying attention to every single tiny detail. You know, we discussed it the other day off stream about the fact that, like, there was this expectation that you would be invested in characters that weren't given any investment time.
Yep.
Like Tassia, or Tassia, she, like, we were supposed to know that we needed to rescue her because she was there, and then Lorith was really into her, and it was just didn't quite gel right. And maybe if we'd done all the side quests, we would have got to a point where we knew more about it. But there's like 70 side quests just in Act 1. You'd be here forever to do it that way. It's not reasonable to expect people to do all the side quests.
I mean, there is a counter of side quests in the map. So,
yeah, and like Act 1, I think, was about 70.
Yeah.
And so for me, yeah, I think it's about a 4.
You're going to laugh.
Okay, go.
My rating on Diablo 4's story is a 1.
Did they piss you off that badly with the weird names?
They not only pissed me off that badly with the names, they pissed me off that badly with the fact that it made no sense. It was not memorable at the slightest.
I forgot what happened in the beginning.
Yeah, Act 1, no fucking clue. Act 2, did we do Act 2? Act 3, we did something in the desert for a bit. Act 4, huh? What, like, what? We did some. Okay, Act 5. All right, we're cool. We're cruising. We got a snake boy to give us the juices, and we created a soul stone. Act 6. We used the soul stone and did the thing. I don't remember the fucking story, and we just finished it.
I mean, to be fair, there was a gap for us in the middle, but I've got worse memory than you do. I don't disagree with you. I think that for me there was enough of a plot through it with like the blood petal pieces that kind of raised it up from that very, very low, but it's still below average for me.
Oh yeah. But I legitimately I don't know what we did. Like what actually happened.
Wow. Okay, I feel it.
Like, huh?
Okay. Gameplay.
Okay.
For me, gameplay's a 6.
Right?
Actually, do you know what? I'm gonna go lower. Gameplay's a 4.
Yeah.
My reasoning behind it. They obviously built upon the same functionality that you have throughout in terms of the skill trees and stuff like that, which works well. I like the way they've done that. I think there's good ways to build great builds, particularly if you're able to know what everything is. We did it on stream, so we didn't really have the time we would like to review everything in the way that we would if we were playing off stream. Okay. That's the part I like. The parts I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
I do not like the fact that they blocked you from doing skills for their own enemy animations.
Yep.
That was fucking bullshit. So, like, I would be pressing a button to do it, and it would not allow me to do it.
Yep.
And not because I wasn't selected on an enemy or something like that, but just because it had something else happening. That's bullshit.
Yep.
The stores and things like that, dramatically over expensive from day one. Like,
yep.
You shouldn't be in the first store in the first town and having things at over like 100,000 gold. What the actual fuck is that? There is not enough explanation or real like emphasis on the other pieces that sit around it, such as like the occultist who does like all that stuff, even the gem makers and things like that. If you think about how they were built out in Diablo 3, like they were built in a way that you found them, you got invested in their story, and you really kind of were aware that they were there. Whereas in this game, they're just there and they exist when you enter the town. There's a little bit of kind of, you need to go and play with it once quest line, and that's it. And then, like, you know, I kind of remembered that the gems existed like midway through Act 6. Like, that shouldn't be a thing. You shouldn't have that. You should be able to see it much more, you know, obviously, I get they were trying to build the towns out and things, but they were trying to be an MMO. They were trying to make themselves into this position where things were scattered. They weren't all centered around a small location. You had like that more realistic weavy town space, and for me, that's just bullshit. The map is too big, it grinds like fuck, and frankly, it was frustrating. There was points, if you go back and watch the earlier videos of us playing this game through Act 1 and Act 2, you can visibly see me get pissed off with how long things are taking. Like,
yeah.
I get snappy, I'm tired, I'm annoyed. Like, you could just see me getting irritated, and
True.
that's just not a good game for anyone.
It's not.
Okay.
And now my rating.
Yeah, it's your turn.
My rating for the gameplay of Diablo 4 is a 2.
Whew, you are being spicy today.
So
I'm being kind of nice, being like, I'm gonna give you a bit of credit for at least trying to be a Diablo game.
everything you just said, but on top of that, the obvious design choices that they decided to go for. On top of the fact that after having played a little bit of all of the classes at this point, there's only one that feels good, in my opinion.
Wow.
But then again, that's my opinion. There's only one that feels good.
This is all our opinion.
Yeah. So, like, there's only one that feels good, and then on top of that, there's only one real way to play that one class to make it actually do things.
Yeah.
Which...
It does niche you very, very quickly.
The builds themselves are incapable of being anything other than what's meta right now, because of the grinding that they patched into the game. Not even that it was just that way at the beginning. No, they patched it in by destroying the ability. Like, when we first played the game, you can see it, like, see us. We were going through packs of enemies with relative ease, even though we were not going off of an actual build. We were just building ourselves.
Yeah. And then it got to a point where, like, you know, there's been points in this where we had to it took us, 15 minutes to get from one location to the next location because you're just going into another pack and going into another pack. And the other thing we talked about the other day was around the fact that there are things like this in, like, Lost Ark and games like that, which obviously this is trying to be, where that happens, but they have different ways of engaging them. You have to actively attack them, so you're not constantly just under attack all the time. You saw it in this, like, we would go through a cloud of enemies and get attacked, and we'd kill them, and then we'd walk 10 yards, and there'd be another cloud of enemies who would all attack us, and then we'd have to go through them. And that's why it felt so grindy, alongside a map that is fucking Grim Dawn. It's built for the mount. It's not built to walk. And so for those of you who've not seen us play Grim Dawn or are not aware of Grim Dawn is another RPG game. It's kind of Gunpowder Time. As this. But it's like Gunpowder Time set kind of thing with, like, guns and stuff. But more kind of that 1600s period. Really great, interesting game. The plot was really interesting. We should definitely play further. Oh, I'm getting pulled into the cutscene. 1 second. There we go. That was it. Shortest cutscene ever. What's next? Okay. So there's challenges. Fine. Cool. The thing for me on that was Grim Dawn. So Grim Dawn is huge. The map is huge. And there's not enough quest saturation. And I think if you were to do it in the way of doing all the side quests, there probably would be the quest saturation in this. But there's not when you just do the main story. Yep. Okay. Are you ready for the Thunderous overall score? I am. I already know my score for this game. It's a 3, and it's skating by being Diablo franchise. I think if it wasn't Diablo franchise and I didn't have the love that I have for the other Diablo games, it would probably get a lower score than that. Yep.
You know what's funny?
You're gonna be catty again.
I'm very, very, very catty. My ultimate score for this game is a 2.
I
It
think that's fair.
skates by on 1 point for being a Diablo game.
Yeah.
The next point, which is the only reason it's even a game, is the fact that it does scratch my itch of wanting to play something that is Diablo-like without having to go to a strictly MMO game.
Yeah.
And the only reason it's doing that is because of the fact that when you leave town, it cuts out about 60 to 70% of the other players that aren't in your party.
That is definitely true. That's definitely true. No, I agree. For me, it's trying to be something it's not. And this has been Diablo's downfall for me in their trajectory since D3. I got hair in my mouth. It's been trying to move towards the MMO market. And we had this full discussion about this. Viking and I had a full 20-minute discussion about this. But I'm going to break it down. They are trying to get hold of the players who played things like ESO, World of Warcraft, etc. Like those big MMOs, Lost Ark, all of those. They've seen their success. They want to capitalize on it. So they're like, okay, well, if we move our things over in that direction, those players will come over here because they know the strong story of the Diablo franchise and they think that we're going to give them what they want. The problem with that is if you take ESO as an example, the people who play ESO fit into a number of categories. Myself and Viking fit mostly into this category of very much story-driven, want to do the quests, want to go through the story, and so on. Then there's a chunk of people who want to do the PvP, which is not really my jam, but they do. And then there's a chunk of people who like it for more of the crafting side of things, the skill storylines like the thieves and things like that, the guild storylines, all of those pieces. The people who also overlap with, like, there you go. And there's also people who just want to kill shit. Thank you, they're impactful. Yeah, just want to kill shit. The people who overlap with the Diablo people are the story people and the just want to kill shit people. But you want to kill shit in a way... And the loot goblins. The people who want to feel like they're got enough challenge, but they're not just killing things for the sake of it. They're progressing through and things are building up and it's getting harder and all of that kind of stuff. And that's a subsection of people who play MMOs. And if you drag Diablo too much in an MMO direction... too much of the crafting, like there was all of this stuff that we were picking up to, like, I don't know, make potions or something.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the stuff we were picking up was to upgrade our potions as we leveled.
It just was weird to me, and I just feel like they're missing their key demographics, and that is why, a 3 for me, a 2 for you. I'm gonna throw a curveball in here.
Okay.
I'm gonna throw a curveball in here because I know this is gonna cause a rant before we go into replayability. It's gonna cause a... Okay. Diablo Immortal.
Fuck you. No, Diablo Immortal does not belong. It story-wise, it's 0. It does not belong because they try to rewrite shit that doesn't make any goddamn sense. And, like, gameplay-wise, it's on a phone, for one, and on the computer, you can play it on the computer. It's not a Diablo game. It's just not. Based around a lot of the fact of you have to legitimately spend hundreds of thousands of US dollars to get anything close to an actual in-game build.
It's pay to play. But
it's pay to win. It is pay to play, but in certain aspects of, like, you are 100% guaranteed to be better to pay it if you pay it. But you can technically play the game for free, and it's fucking stupid. Diablo Immortal does not exist.
I had to throw that in there just for that reaction.
I hate you. I love you.
Replayability. Diablo 1. Go.
2. Replayability-wise, Diablo 1 has almost no replayability because of how grindy it is. However,
I think Diablo 1 for me, it was only replayable because we played it together and you were showing me through it. Like if you're showing a new person and introducing them to the franchise, then it's replayable. Otherwise, no.
I will say this though, if we had more people actually playing Diablo 1 with us, we would have had more of a fun time and less of a grind because there's more people, there's more items.
That's true. The only time when it was a grind was when I was fucking killing Diablo at the end, and you were like, I can't even get a hit in.
I get one hit and I die. I get one hit, I die. Like, that was what it was. Basically, I had to tell you, all right, just target me. Like,
I'm just gonna run in a circle. Like, it's...
like,
okay.
That's how you play that game. Diablo 2.
Diablo 2, for me, is probably up there as a 7 for replayability. Yeah. I think there is enough different ways you can go about it with enough different builds and things that you have that replayability, but I could see the story getting old if I played it over and over and over.
I agree with you. Which, honestly, the end game for Diablo 2 is more of a grind than this is. But that's because you've already played. If you're on a character you want to reach to level 100, you basically say, okay, I want to go and do Bale runs and just go kill Bale over and over and over and over again.
That's true.
Which that is more grindy than what even we did. Diablo 2 is a grindy game. It's a grind fest, especially since we didn't touch Nightmare or Hell mode because we were running out of time.
True.
But
true.
It was decent enough. Like, we played through it, we enjoyed it. I think it had enough replayability to go back and do it every now and then.
Yeah, that's true. D3 has strong replayability because of the seasons.
Yeah.
So it's got to be up there as like an 8 just for the seasons alone. But even the seasons within themselves get repetitive. So I wouldn't put it up as like a 10 because of that.
I will put Diablo 3 as a 6.
Okay.
Because the seasons are over repetitive. It's the exact same season every single time. There's nothing really new to it except for like the last couple of seasons.
I think that's where my kind of junior nature when it comes to Diablo comes into effect, because I've only played like 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah, you've done at least 2.
Yeah, it hasn't really wasted me out on the seasons and the rifts and stuff yet, whereas you have sunk hundreds of hours into that game.
I have. Like, Diablo 3 is one of those games where, like, eventually I will get every single achievement, eventually. Except for the hardcore ones, because I'm not that good. I'm just not.
Okay. And then Diablo 4.
I feel like Diablo 4 has the replayability edge, because it is pretty fun to start over a lot.
Okay, I mean, I've not done it yet, so I can only give a sensitive thing on this. I think there's two things. Do you class coming back in with a character once you finish the main quest to do all the side quests as replaying? Or is that still playing one? In which case, there's a shit ton of side quests, so yes, of course.
Yeah.
And they have seasons. So they have a lot of additional content for you to do. So
they really do.
But also, I'm annoyed with it right now, so...
I know. Like I said, the replayability of Diablo 4 is one of those games that you can pick up, make a new character, and be like, all right, I'm having fun. You already know kind of what's going on, so skipping through all the dialogue is honestly a godsend, especially if you're just here to kill shit. Yes, I'm speaking to you, Impactable.
But yeah, like, I think just for me right now, I'm frustrated by it, and I kind of just need another break. Don't want to touch it again for a little bit. But at the same time, So that is our ranking of all of the Diablo games. We've gone through their story, we've gone through their gameplay, and our overall thoughts on them all. Would love to hear what everybody else thinks.
And the replayability.
Exactly. It's a series we love. We will be coming back to it. We will. But right now, I think I need a break from Diablo 4. We'll probably hit back into Diablo 2 just to refresh myself. But I have had a lot of fun playing it, a lot of fun doing this playthrough of all of the Diablo games, and yeah, it's been amazing. It really has.
It absolutely has.
So,
And that wraps up our Diablo playthrough. It has been a real journey to hell and back, but I hope you've enjoyed our gameplay as much as we have and want to see us do more. Definitely do let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. We want to know if you agree with our assessment of the series, how you're finding the game so far, and any other feedback you'd like to give me. We will be back very, very soon with more gameplay content. That's going to include a playthrough of ESO's Necrom and other favourites, so if there is something you want to see, please don't hesitate to let me know. And as always, I hope you're doing amazing, having the best weeks, and I'll see you soon.